Yeah. Please tell me that I can't, that I won't, that I fail, that I'll never make it out, yeah. Please tell me
You
all
know
the
where
bad...
you're at that effing sports show. We're glad to have you. You know why you're here. Because myself and Adam Hulse of Adam Hulse Sports is going through every team. We're giving you the records all the way through the NFL. Figure out how this whole thing is going to play out before the season even starts. Don't worry, we're not ruining it. The season's going to be fantastic. You're going to see some great games. We're just letting you know who's going to be there at the end. Today, Adam, we hit the AFC East. Some of these games are filled in because the AFC East has to play the NFC East, and we've already done those games. Each of them draws a team from the AFC South, and so we've already done those games. They also have to play each other, and they also have to play games within the AFC West. The AFC West is going to be last. Spoiler alert, AFC West is going to be the last division that we do. And when we get there, we're actually filling in a lot of those scores today. So there's a lot of weight. There's a lot of responsibility on how we grade these games today out.
Yeah, I mean, it's very interesting the way that we're doing this, you know, kind of like you referenced, like the 4 teams we're going to get to today in the AFC East. We've already picked 7 of their games in other episodes because they're on other teams' schedules. So they're already kind of a starting point. And spoiler alert, we think pretty highly of these 4 teams if you go back and kind of listen to that other episodes and the wins and losses that we picked for these teams so far. So this is going to be a tough competitive division from the way it's shaping out right now.
And if you've been listening, and if not, go back and check out the other episodes. Each episode's around 15 minutes. Most of them are less. So you can get them all in pretty quickly while you're sitting there at work. And you look at all the other divisions, it always seems to be 2 teams at the top, 2 teams at the bottom. In the AFC East, we truly have 3 contenders here. And we're going to see where New England comes out. New England might finish better than we think, but it's the questions at quarterback. We do believe in their defense. We're going to see how it plays out in this episode right here. New England is up first. But as a division, to me, I see 3 teams that could possibly win it. I'm not sure who's going to end up at the top by the time we get done. There's the obvious pick, but I don't know if it's going to end up that way.
There's 3 fan bases who legitimately should believe that their teams can be Super Bowl contenders this year. And like, they're not just being homer fans by thinking that way. And then even when you think of that 4th team, which is of course the Patriots, we're always going to believe in the defense. We're obviously going to believe in the coaching staff. And it's easy to forget that 2 years ago with a pretty similar roster, they did make it to the playoffs. You know, they got blown out by the Bills in the playoffs, but they still made it. And last year, they were right on the edge. Despite all of their weaknesses and errors last year, they were very close to getting into the playoffs. So, I mean, that's just kind of the nature of the Patriots, is that they're going to grind, they're going to be competitive, and if they're not there, they're going to be close. They're not going to be a bum team, regardless of what the quarterback situation is.
It's going to be a fun one as we go through this thing. New England draws Philly for week 1. It doesn't matter where it's at. New England's taking the loss next fly. Week 2, the first AFC East matchup, New England welcomes Miami into the stadium. I have to believe that Tua is still going to be there in week 2. I don't know if he's going to make the whole season. I love New England's defense. I think Tua can get it done in week 2. I think they got enough firepower.
Yeah, like, I just think that when you look roster for roster in this situation, that the Dolphins team is just so much better than the Patriots team. They have so much more firepower, so many better players in the skill positions. And as you referenced too, it's only week 2, so health shouldn't be an issue at this point. Of course, you never know. So for those reasons, and I'm agreeing with you on the reasoning, I'm going with the Dolphins.
Let's run down the Patriots real quick so that we kind of have a picture of what we're looking at. We know they have quarterback issues. They finished 8-9 last year despite those quarterback issues, 3rd in the division. They were 17th in points for, which is actually kind of surprised that they did that well. 11th in points against. We mentioned the defense. Offense not helping them out much there, and so 11th. Actually very respectable. They split with Miami. They beat the Jets twice, and they lost both their games to the Bills. That said, they beat the Colts. They beat Arizona. They beat Cleveland in week 6. So pre-Watson, they beat Pittsburgh in week 2. So the wins were not against fantastic offenses, and they lost everybody they're supposed to lose to, like Cincinnati and Baltimore, even Minnesota. The team didn't have a lot of strength. Not so sure they got much stronger. And in week 3, they go to the Jets. Cross street, have to deal with Aaron Rodgers, that Jets defense.
I'm not, giving a hot take here when I say that Bill Belichick is arguably the best coach in NFL history. And look, like I've said this before in previous episodes, that in my opinion, there's very few coaches who can truly scheme their way to victories almost regardless of the roster. Bill Belichick is truly one of those coaches. 8-9 last year, I think just about every other head coach in the NFL last year would have finished much worse with that Patriots roster. Bill Belichick is a huge X factor, and that's why they're going to be competitive, even though I really don't like their roster at all, just to put it plainly. As I said, most coaches, I think this team would be a disaster. Belichick's not most coaches. So this week 3 game against the Jets, I think Rodgers is still going to be adjusting a little bit at this point. He's not going to have everything clicking. I think this defense and this team in general, the Patriots, are going to be excited for this matchup with this new look Jets and all their hype around them and everything that they're building up with the Jets this year with the arrival of Rodgers. I think Patriots play with a chip on their shoulder and they get the mini upset here.
You steal my thunder. I'm thinking I'm going to shock Adam Hulse because I am also picking New England to win this game.
Yep.
I really thought this was going to be one we did not agree on, but there it is. New England gets the win at the Jets, but Jets fans are not going to be happy about. But it's week 3, and in Aaron Rodgers' immortal words, relax.
The Jets are going to be a team that gets better as the year goes on. I don't think it's going to click right away. I know there's the Nathaniel Hackett factor that Rodgers is playing in an offense that he's familiar with, but it's not the same thing as being on the Packers with Nathaniel Hackett. There's still an adjustment period with the staff, with the roster, just with the way everything works. I think that the Jets in the second half of the year will be better than they are at the beginning.
Couldn't agree more, my friend. Week 4, the Patriots go to Dallas. Dallas, one of those teams that should be contending legit. I mean, I know Cowboys fans always believe that Cowboys are going to be contending, but I think this year they truly will be. And so when New England goes to Dallas, they're going to have to take the L.
Well, yeah, I mean, Cowboy fans always think the Cowboys are going to be contending. But look, if we're being honest here, in the last few years, they have been contending. They've been right there. They've been a playoff team. They won a playoff game last year. And look, though this wasn't the typical Jerry Jones type of offense, they truly did address their weaknesses from last year. This is going to be a good Cowboys team and definitely good enough to beat the Patriots.
Week 5, we've already done New Orleans. We've already done that division. We've already done that show. Go back and check out New Orleans, the show, because it might surprise you. In this case, big surprise, as we gave New England the win against New Orleans, which, now that we've done all this stuff, we are forced to deal with the games that we've already picked. Knowing the problems and issues that New England had, I guess it's the defense that we gave New England the edge here.
Both of these teams have their fair share of issues and question marks heading into this season. And this is one of those games that truly kind of could go either way. I think it's going to be one of those ugly, sloppy, just nasty kind of games. I think New England kind of thrives in those situations, and that's why I went Patriots.
Week 6, they go to Las Vegas. Throughout the last couple of weeks, we've really talked about teams traveling and the effect that it has. New England has to go about as far as any team has to travel in the NFL to get to Las Vegas. We talked about the scheming. We brought up the defense. It'll get brought up again. I think that the problems outweigh what Belichick can do when they have to travel across country and meet Garoppolo again. Not that Belichick can't out-scheme Garoppolo, but I just think they're just at too big a disadvantage, and Las Vegas will win at home.
All right, yeah, so this is going to be one that we do disagree on. And normally I'm with you on the traveling across the country. If you go back and listen to some of our previous episodes, it's a point that both of us do bring up a lot, that travel is a factor, and it's often a factor that's not talked about enough when you're really going into games, is, that cross country and where you were the week before, and that does take a toll on you over time. But for me, in this situation, you kind of referenced it a little bit. Jimmy Garoppolo, Josh McDaniel, this is the kind of game that Bill Belichick has circled. He's going to have something special lined up for this one because it's personal. It's McDaniels, it's Garoppolo. I believe because Belichick will have something special stewed up, the Patriots will find a way to win it.
We do all these games as we see them, or on the fly. We look at the schedule, we pick them. If we are taking this at face value, so I don't know what Belichick's record is against former coaches and former players, and I feel like that would influence the game.
Definitely could influence the game. I'm sure he'll be more motivated because it's Garoppolo and because it's McDaniel, like I said. I'd imagine he's pretty good against his former players.
Here, I got it pulled up as we're sitting here talking. It's about 500. It's actually about 500, surprisingly so. I would have agreed with you that Belichick would have a fantastic record against his former players, much like Saban, but right about 500, I think it's one game in the loss column. Good chance either way.
Yeah, that's a surprising stat to me. I definitely thought it would be a better record than that, but I am still sticking with my pick. I think Belichick will have something special dialed up for Jimmy and McDaniels, and give me the Patriots.
It'll be a fun game either way. Week 7, Buffalo comes to New England. I'm going to kind of surprise people here. Yes, Buffalo beat them twice. Yes, Buffalo should win. We are going to get more into this, obviously, when we hit the Buffalo episode. But I actually think New England has a winnable game here. Maybe it's the division thing. Maybe it's Buffalo isn't quite as good as people think. I don't know. I just think New England could pull this out.
Well, you think they will pull it out, or they could pull it out? There's a big difference there, right? Because, sure, like, on any given day, anyone can beat anyone. And kind of as you referenced, this is a division rivalry game, which definitely changes things a little bit. But look, in recent years, Josh Allen has kind of owned the Patriots. He hasn't just been beating them, but he's put a couple of really bad beatings on the Patriots. I think that continues this year, and I'm with the Bills all the way in this matchup.
Now, well, you kind of caught me because I said they could win, but you're absolutely right. I don't think they win this game. I don't know. Maybe I'm trying to bring some drama in. Maybe I was trying to influence your decision a little bit.
Yeah.
Things happen. Look, division games, I love division games because it is harder to tell what's going to happen, but you're right.
I mean, look, like, you're right. Like, it wouldn't be like a shocking upset for the Patriots to beat the Bills. You know, most division type of games, it's never shocking if either side wins, like 90% of the time, because it's division, because it's rivalry, because the teams know them well. But again, recent history tells me that the Bills have the Patriots number.
No, I absolutely agree with you, and I actually would be surprised. I would be really surprised if New England won this game. And in Week 8, Miami gets another shot at New England, but this time it's in Miami. It's in Week 8. This is where I don't know if Tua is still going to be here. I don't know if Tua is still going to be around. I don't know if he just went out, if he's just coming back. Maybe he's made it through the whole season. I don't know, and that's what makes this pick hard. They split last season, much due to the Tua situation. In Miami, I don't like it, but I'm still going to give Miami the win because it's in Miami.
My gut feeling about Patriots and Dolphins this year would be more that, like, it'd be a split type of situation. You referenced, you know, the injuries. We've been talking about division rivalry, all that kind of stuff. But I'm not going to go with a split here. I am going to give Miami the sweep. I'm going to give Tua the benefit of the doubt that he can stay healthy this year. I know that's, you know, a little bit of a hot take. But if he can, as we referenced in the first matchup, the firepower on the Dolphins is really serious. Their skill position players and some of these superstars that they have on this team on both sides of the ball, by the way, match up with just about every team in the NFL. So I'm going with the Dolphins.
If they hadn't played Miami in Week 2, if it had been like a Week 8 and a Week 16 or something like that, I might be more willing to give the split. But because New England's home game is in Week 2, it just forces my hand here, and so Miami gets sweet. Week 9, they play the Commanders. We talked about the Commanders. Decent defense. We don't know what we're going to get on offense, and we've already done the Commander game, so even factoring in things that we've said and come across and all that, right now we've got New England beating Washington in New England.
We both think Washington's going to be a disaster this year. If you want to see how bad of a disaster, go back and listen to that Commanders episode, but I just don't see them beating many teams at all this year. Patriots not one of them. So give me the Patriots.
We've already talked to AFC South, so we've already talked Week 10 when New England and Indianapolis go to Germany. Interesting because these aren't the teams you normally see on the other side of the water, although New England has been there because it's over the water, because Indianapolis grooming their next quarterback, and we don't really know what we're going to get. New England's defense, Belichick scheming, New England gets the win in Germany.
You know, this is the kind of situation, like we said, you know, we thought Belichick probably has a good record against his assistant coaches. I don't have the number in front of me, but I know he has a good record against rookie quarterbacks. The Colts have a rookie quarterback. Playing the Patriots is a tough ask. That's why I'm taking the Patriots.
It is, and especially when you have to travel like that, you know, it kind of evens it out, even if someone did have a big advantage. Week 11, New England takes the bye. Week 12, they go to the Giants, another fairly local game. It may come as a surprise to know that we gave New England a win at New York.
Yeah, I mean, I'm down on the Giants this year. I think last year was a little bit fluky for them. They seem to get lucky. Don't see that happening again this year. This is a kind of 50-50 game, in my opinion, that, you know, it wouldn't shock me if the Giants won it. I just think that the Patriots will be a little bit better in this.
So we have New England on a 3-game win streak right now. Week 13, the Chargers come to New England. New England's strength is the defense. that would be the Chargers' weakness and vice versa.
We're going to go back to that travel situation, right? LA having to come all the way across the country to play New England in Foxborough. That's a difficult game for any West Coast team. So while I think the Chargers are a much better team overall than the Patriots, schedule matters, location matters, the when and where, right? That we've talked about a few times in these previous episodes. Because of those factors, I'm actually taking the Patriots.
Our minds are starting to meld, and we're starting to get the same philosophies, or maybe we're just smart enough to understand it or believe it anyway. I have New England winning this also. A little bit different reasoning. I've got the fact that New England's at home. We talked about in the Seattle episode how hard Seattle is to play at home. New England equally as hard. New England has a fantastic record at home, and especially when you start getting into the winter months. Week 13, again, it's not super cold yet. I have to expect that New England is going to be cold. The Chargers are not going to like that. I think the Chargers give them a game, but I think New England's able to pull it out. 4-game win streak. Then they have to go to Pittsburgh. And I'm sorry, New England's not beating my Steelers at home. In the Steelers episode, you happen to agree.
The Steelers, my opinion of them in general is that they usually take care of business against the teams that they're supposed to, especially when they play at home. I see this as that situation, so I went with the Steelers.
Week 15, Kansas City comes to New England. Here's a team that can play in the cold. Here's a team that's going to be ready for this game. Here's a team that's going to be favored to get to the Super Bowl again, and so here's a team that I have beating New England.
Yeah, I think this game is probably going to be a closer game than most people think that it will be because it's in New England and because I'm sure Belichick is going to have something different defensively for Mahomes to look at than he's shown the entire year. Belichick's kind of known for doing that. So though I think the Patriots can keep it relatively close, I don't think that they're good enough to beat the Chiefs.
Week 16, they go to Denver. They got to play in Mile High. It's going to be cold. That's not going to be the issue. The altitude might be, and generally the lack of skill. Peyton and Russ, we're going to find out if they were able to put it together and get it dialed in, or if Russ is just done. Week 16, we'll definitely know. But looking at this at face value right now, Denver wins in Denver.
Yeah, I agree with you. I'm going to give Denver the win here. A lot of what I said about the Jets, that I think they'll be a better second half of the season team than first half as they figure things out. I think that's probably even more true about the Broncos because this Peyton and, Russell Wilson relationship is so new. But in Mile High, late in the season, I think things will be clicking more for the Broncos, and I'll go with them.
Week 17 at Buffalo. I have no problem giving Buffalo the win at home into the season. Playoffs on the line, seeding on the line. I think Buffalo wins that game. And I'm just going to go right into the Jets game as well and let you handle both at the same time. When the Jets come to New England in Week 18, I think the Jets will have it together as they might be playing for something as well. New England loses a Week 18 game as well.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with you that they're going to lose to both Buffalo and the Jets to end the season, which I believe for me that puts them in a 5-game losing streak to end the year, putting New England in the kind of situation that about 3/4 of the way through the season, they may be in the mix for a wild card spot and then potentially falling apart with a relatively difficult journey over those last few games of the year. Those games against the Bills and the Jets are probably going to be very important. Could be important for the Patriots' wild card hope. Could be important for the Bills and the Jets trying to win the division or having seeding in the AFC with teams like the Chiefs, the Jags, the Bengals. Pretty important stretch at the end, but I agree with you that the Patriots are going to lose both.
The Patriots just have too many holes this year. Belichick will even that out, even the playing field a little bit, fill in some of those holes. He's good enough to do that, but with the schedule having to face his division opponents, having to face Kansas City, having to face up-and-comers like Pittsburgh and Dallas, it's just going to be an uphill battle. I have him at 6 wins. You have him at 7, and frankly, I think we're being kind of nice.
It's the Belichick factor, right? That's what it is for me, at least. They went 8-9 last year with a very similar roster to what they have this year. So I have them 1 game worse than last year, which I think sounds about right.
So it's going to be real interesting. You're going to want to catch the next 3 episodes as we talk about Miami, the Jets, and Buffalo to get through the AFC East. This division is going to be a dogfight. There's going to be a lot of things happening here, and you're going to want to know how it all plays out. So come back to That F4 Show. Find us on Twitter at That Effin' Show. We brought in Adam Hulse at Adam Hulse Sports on Twitter, NFL writer for Sportspedia. Head over there, constantly cranking out stuff relevant to your fantasy life as well as your NFL life. We're going to get through it. You're going to want to join us. We'll see you next one. Take care, everybody.
You don't wanna fuck with me. A slow burn like a disease. Just tell me that I can and I'll show you things that you couldn't